Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, September 30th. This is where we bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. We're coming into the last couple of months of 2021. I'm hoping that we're going to have at least two more 10 baggers, two more of our stocks becoming 10 baggers. We've already had 7 in the last year or so that have increased between 1,000 and 5,000%. Logiq has almost done it. Logiq increased from $3 to $3.50 to $14 the first time around. Now we're back into the same $3 range. We're going to see if now we can go to $30. It's a 10x upside. So we are going to. Oh, we got some. Okay, it looks like we got some internet problems. Okay, oh, I got the internet. Hang on a second. Let me see if we get better. Let me see if we get better with. Let me try to plug in the mic here. Try to plug in the. Brent, can you hear me better now?
I can.
You can hear me better. Okay, so hopefully everybody hears me better also. Okay. Yeah. So basically. So Logiq has got a lot of exciting things going on. What I want to do is I want to kind of unpack there's really two big things we got to focus on today. One is the expansion in the ad tech space, the marketing technology space, where really got some new partnerships you're rolling out. And that's going to be really, I mean, which is going to be where you're going to be doing M&A. That's going to be kind of the big growth focus of the company. At the same time, you're making right now you're kind of setting the stage for spinning out the fintech business, which is Logiq, which is in Indonesia and now in Nigeria. So really exciting emerging markets. I guess the idea is that it will unleash value when you do the spin out, which could potentially be worth more than the existing, Logiq by itself.
That's correct. Yes, the overwhelming conclusions out there, not just with us internally, are that the sum of the parts is significantly greater than our current market cap. And without spending too much time on that, the decision to split the company into two parts, where they're both standalones, is what we've recently embarked upon, pointing to this past Monday's press release.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple things. Let's kind of talk about the data Logiq side. You have some new partnerships. You're kind of adding. What is the goal here? You're kind of building out the platform. Are you adding new customers? What's going on with data Logiq? What's
Sure.
The run rate, things like that?
Sure. Okay. So for some of our newer audience, Logiq is essentially two business units: Logiq and data Logiq. Logiq is our historical fintech in emerging markets business, and data Logiq is something that we've built up over the past year and a half. The first acquisition we made last year in January, a company named Push Interactive, we now call it Logiq Consumer Marketing, or LCM. Fixel AI we acquired last year in November, and then Rebel AI we acquired in April of this year. We've rebranded it as Logiq Digital Marketing, or LDM. Those three pieces that we have acquired, integrated, and now have a singular platform are in what's called the advertising technology industry, or ad tech. So if you look around the space, there's some very well regarded publicly traded companies like the Trade Desk and Magnite and Acuity Ads. There's a number of them. They trade at very rich valuations. Growth is significant, as are gross profit margins. And we like that business a lot, mostly because the clients that are served are in the e-commerce space. And as everyone knows, e-commerce has just done tremendously well. for the bigger players. What it did is it left out the small to medium-sized businesses that compete in e-commerce. So very simply put, our DataLogiq platform, Jack, enables small to medium-sized businesses to access the same types of tools online to advertise themselves better, run successful marketing and promotional campaigns for themselves. So that business we're tremendously excited about. And if you look at the valuation comps out there, you'll see an average of about 23 times revenues. And I bring this up because part of the confusion with us when we've gotten in front of professional investors is, if they like ad tech, they still feel a little bit clouded by the fact that we're also in emerging markets in fintech. Seems like most people like one or the other, but not necessarily.
I think it's like you have two really hot businesses, but people want a pure play.
They do.
Like you could really unleash value if you kind of split those apart. Now the ad tech business, so the ad tech, the DataLogiq side, you're doing roughly. I think 37 million is a top line. 38
Correct.
million, 37 is the top line. And what percentage of that again is the DataLogiq?
About 70%.
Okay, so that's about dollar-wise, it's roughly
about 25 million for this year.
Okay, 20. Okay, so in theory, once you break these apart, once you split them apart, the DataLogiq side, this ad tech business, could be trading at 10 times revenues, right? And the fintech side, the emerging markets, AppLogic, I mean, the multiples on that could actually be higher because we've seen some huge multiples in stocks, Julia, SCA,
Grab, Altimeter, FinExcel, Victory Park. Yes, the valuations that we're seeing in that sector are around 18 times revenue.
Brent, let me. Okay, I think I have a bad connection on my part of the internet. I'm getting some. Let me try to log out. Hopefully, it gets a little bit better. So
okay. Should I run the show on my own?
Yeah.
Have my own guest.
Yeah. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Let me pop out for a second. Okay. Is this any better?
It is actually, yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow.
In your absence, we made a number of changes for Wall Street Reporter.
Okay.
Our viewers are thrilled.
Okay. Yeah. Geez, we get some bad. Okay. So hopefully they're hearing your part fine. That's the most important thing. So okay. So we got So the ad tech business. So let's talk about now, which I think is very interesting. I think one of the near-term catalysts is going to be the spin-out of this AppLogic, which is the fintech side. So let's talk about a couple of things that have been developing right now, which is right now, you've got a couple of deals you've announced in Indonesia, which is, I think the partnership, which is going to get 50. I think you're reaching 50 million plus people, and this company is. I can't pronounce it. It's an Indonesian. What's the other group? It's like their social security thing, which has like 50 million people. That's going to be.
Yeah, BPJS.
What is it? What's the actual words? It's like something. Hang on a second. I'll tell you what it is.
We just call them BPJS. Actually, it's BPJS.
Okay.
TK. So it's not making it any easier. But it is the government. It's the government run Social Security Administration.
Okay. So basically, you're gonna. So what is the deal there? What exactly is this? Is this the same deal you announced last December, or is this new?
It is the deal that we announced last December. We were hoping to launch the pilot program in January. A little bit out of our control, COVID, which is lagging the U.S. They're actually just exiting their sixth lockdown as a country. So it's pushed the pilot out, but we're going to start Q4 of this year, regardless. So we've gotten everything up and ready to go on the integration side. So everything's been integrated in with their back end, but we're going to actually launch the pilot where we will start with their 6,000 employees, who will then be able to take out loans in advance of paycheck, or borrow against savings, which will be the first time they've been able to do that. Phase 2, that pilot will extend to 5 million of their members. And then the phase 3, which should be in Q2 of next year, will be open to all 52 million members, should they so choose to utilize it.
Okay. How big is the opportunity dollar-wise?
Wow. It's tough to say. I mean, what we've done internally is we've taken a very conservative base case scenario where it's 2% penetration of the entire base, which comes out to roughly about 18 million a year in revenue opportunity to just to us,
okay,
based on our split.
Okay. So if you just get 2% of that market, you're saying you could generate 18 million in revenues.
That's right.
Okay. So again, the multiples in this space you're in is 10x plus, right?
It's about 17.
Oh, higher. 17.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 10x. Yeah. So okay. So let's do 20x, right? So in theory, this business by itself, once the revenues start coming in, could be worth 300 million plus.
That's the idea. I think it is, and yes, and bear in mind we have other business within that. We have our e-wallet business, which is generating about 18 million in revenue, and then ATOS Go. It's been a little slow there again because of COVID on the food delivery side. But when we were at the peak, we were tracking at a run rate of about 3.5 million, and that was in month 3 of launch. So I think it's safe to say that when things get back to quasi normal, we've got a really good opportunity, and that's just with the existing relationships that we have. And then one thing that we announced, I think it was about a week and a half ago, we have partnered with a group called Mental Coup to launch an online, through the mobile phone, driver's testing driver's license tests, because they've been doing it in person, where people have to go out to the police stations, they have to take a psychological test to get approved for driving, and they have to do it every time they renew. They charge about $10 US equivalent for that, but we're moving it to a mobile phone app where they do everything through the phone, and they will use our e-wallet. So that's quite big. And what I would point to with these initiatives in Indonesia is that they are all transportable to other countries, ideally emerging markets, should we so choose to do so. If you don't mind, I wanted to just very quickly just share something on my screen, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
And then we're going to talk about Nigeria.
Yes, sir. Actually,
this is the big news here. Okay.
Yes.
Should we show what you have? Should we show your screen?
Yeah, please. Okay, so I've got 2 screenshots up. The one over here with the green, that is the actual user interface that we're using to launch the driver's license test. I had it up here, so I thought it might be interesting to the viewers. Over here, where it says world's most unbanked countries, these are the countries around the world that have a very high percentage of their population that do not have bank accounts. What's interesting is all of these are at between 80 to 90% mobile penetration. So that means 80 to 90% of these people have smartphones. But this percentage here, where it says unbanked population, that's the percentage who do not have bank accounts. So how do they buy things through this device? How do they conduct business through this device? Well, they use fintech tools, much like what we provide in Indonesia. I've highlighted these 3 markets here. Now, I think most everyone knows we are active in Indonesia. We have just announced that we've partnered with a group in Nigeria. And then I have not spoken about this yet, but by way of interest, I think it's safe to say that we have described other markets that we're looking at. Well, Vietnam is one that we're in discussions with now, with several partners. So these three markets, I would say, are our primary focus over the next year to 2 years. And in aggregate, you look at the total population opportunity, it's significant. It's in excess of 550 million people, with an average.
Brent, I think this actually it would be a very compelling. I can see why you want to spin this out as a separate business, because if the story for the AppLogiq business becomes that, hey, this is a focus on emerging markets. These are hottest markets, and there's very few pure plays there. You're talking about Indonesia, Nigeria. Now you're going to be doing Vietnam, possibly others in the next months. You're going to be rolling out. So it makes sense. So let's talk about what is the partnership in Nigeria? What are the services you're going to be offering there? It's a fintech service.
They are, yes. We're going to start off with an e-wallet offering, and our partner there is in e-commerce services, payment services, predominantly government contracts and large enterprise contracts that enable their customers to offer software and services to either their employees or their end customers, or members, if you will. And so what we're doing is we're starting off with an e-wallet offering that they will then market to their partners and customers. We can then layer in other aspects of what we're currently providing in Indonesia, whether it be for hyperlocal food delivery, which is what we launched last year. In late 2019, and then more recently the microfinance platform, and then the driver's license testing. So any of these products, Jack, are transportable into other emerging markets.
Okay, so Indonesia, just in case, I know a lot of people don't really. The population is about 200 million plus.
273 million, according to the World Bank.
Okay, so it increased. So almost 300 million, which is, and Indonesia also has something like 200, 300 million. Huge numbers. And these markets are really untapped. We had actually one of our company we did an interview with about a year ago, Jumia on NASDAQ, a New York Stock Exchange, JMIA. So yes. Their big focus is the African market, and that stock was very hot. I haven't looked at it for a while, but because that market, there's very few pure plays. That's one of the last kind of untapped. That's the last
frontier.
Market, last frontier, basically, right? You have a really very fast growing emerging middle class especially in places like Nigeria. So there's a huge amount of opportunities there. It's really incredible. What do you see now when you launch the Nigeria business? Again, that business near term, like what kind of revenues could that generate?
Well, we haven't modeled it out yet because the partnership is new. So I would be it would be a reach if I tried to describe it now. But I think if you look at some of the standalone opportunities, the handful that exist, Jumia, you look at their revenue trajectory, it's been significant because when you have a large population base and you have a lot of people with a lot of these and the desire to use these devices to buy things, whether it's local, regional, or internationally, in enabling them to do so, whether it's e-commerce or fintech, scale is, I won't say easy, but it's a lot easier than developed markets because the competition is lower.
It's interesting. I think if I remember from my interview with Jumia was that basically that in Africa, it's like 95% everything takes place on the mobile. Like nobody uses a desktop. It's so what you're doing, it really, it fits right in with developing these mobile apps. Very interesting. Okay, so what? So we should be. When can we expect to see some news on that development on the Nigeria rollout?
Pretty soon. I think overarching that, what the viewers should pay attention to is progression in Indonesia, because what that does is that drives both products and services that we offer in other markets. It also gives an idea into the uptake in terms of user traction. And I know it's a lot to absorb, but very simply put, what we're doing in Indonesia, we are starting to do in Nigeria. So when that comes online, I think you'll actually see a faster uptake, and then any other similar markets. And then over all of that, being a standalone where it's a focus around emerging markets and fintech, you look at peer company valuations. It's exciting. Jumia has a huge valuation. So do the Indonesian fintech companies that are coming public here in the U.S. So I think it's going to offer a really good opportunity for our shareholders to participate in this, because we will be doing a share issuance through the form of a spinoff in stock dividend. And so if there's a near-term catalyst, it would be on date of record for shareholders to be issued those shares.
Okay, so basically, in theory, I mean, right now, do you have a name? What are you going to be calling the spin out? Is it going to be called Logiq? What is it going to be called? Because that's the current name of it, Logiq, right? So what is going to be the new name?
Right now, my team is in the process of a little outreach campaign to pick a favorite. So I gave them until next Monday, so we'll see.
Okay. So it's going to be so we're going to call. Okay, so it's going to be Nuco, Project X. Project X. What would Elon Musk call this? They have like different names, right? So okay, so basically this new business potentially really could be worth several times more than the existing Logiq. So in theory, somebody's paying $3.50 for the stock right now. Essentially, they could basically, it's like a arbitrage opportunity. It's kind of this built-in opportunity here when the spin out happens.
That's correct. We've gotten third-party valuations, as well as you take benchmarked valuations of peer companies in order to value it. So it is very feasible that on day one of trading, it could be worth in excess of our current market cap.
Now, okay, so if we basically talk about the Logiq business by itself, that business, which is Indonesia, which is the app development emerging, that generates roughly 12 million as part of out of the 38 million you do right now. You're doing 12 million in that, right? So
that's right. Plus the revenues that are generated in Indonesia that are not part of our consolidated revenues, because we hold those currently as investment in associate on the balance sheet. So we are not capturing those numbers because we're a minority owner, and shareholders own the majority. And then the management team there has 20%. So we are not capturing those revenues, but they will be consolidated into Nuco. So you'll see a revenue run rate that is greater than the 12 million that you're pointing to now, which is 100% from Logiq.
Okay. So, and then the Indonesia business is also going to be doing 18 million on top of that. So that business by itself could be worth, let's say you're doing 30 million with the fintech business in Indonesia. You got the business in Nigeria. I mean, let's say you're doing 30 million there alone. That could be worth 20x, 600 million, which is, almost 8 times the value of Logiq right now by just that spin-off alone.
Based on pure company comps, correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive. Okay, and now you have, so you just signed Benchmark investment bankers to. They're going to be doing what? They're going to be
They're advising on the transaction. So there is a bit of work. I mean, there's the structuring, there's the spin out, there are also other partners who wish to come in on a merger basis. So we could very well be adding in some names that people have seen in the past as partners. They could actually be part of the new co in terms of merger candidates, and we will grow through strategic acquisition as well, because we've seen a number of venture funded fintech companies in the region that we would benefit greatly by being part of in terms of by way of a merger.
So there's actually two things. So there's M&A opportunities with the fintech business, which is going to be the spin out, as well as I think one of the things you're doing is, I mean, you've been growing through M&A. You've been growing the ad tech business through M&A. So, and I think you mentioned that your goal is to get to 100 million plus run rate, pretty quick. I mean, you're at 37 million. Take out the fintech, so it's 28 million. So you could basically 4x that with organic and some strategic M&A.
Strategic M&A is certainly the way to go, and as we've stated on here on Wall Street Reporter in the past, and then certainly indicated in press releases and certainly our quarterly conference calls, growth through M&A is a path that we are clearly on. As far as that pipeline, which I think is a major question, how do you find these companies? And I was asked the other day if how aggressive we'll be. Well, we made 3 acquisitions over 18 months, but that was not aggressive. That was through very careful and well thought out strategic planning to evolve our roadmap going forward. So those acquisitions actually comprise the platform that is now Logiq. So what do we do now? Well, we did meet a number of companies that are revenuing, that are profitable, that would be accretive, a little larger, some the same size, some a little.
You're talking to companies right now. In other words, you're in active discussions for these deals.
Yes, I'd say it's been this past few weeks. It's comprised probably 5 to 6 hours of each day. So we're very active with that.
Okay, 5 to 6 hours each day. That's all. It's a significant commitment.
And I'm not doing it on my own. I've got three colleagues who are dedicated to those specific endeavors.
So the bottom line is So it's very interesting. So right now, I think from the investor standpoint, it's a pretty compelling case. You get near term. There are multiple catalysts near term to unleash value. You got that spin out of Apple, the fintech, fintech business in the emerging markets. That's part one. You got the expansion in the ad tech business with M&A, which could 4x right now. That's part two. And the stock is right now trading at like multiples, like 2 times revenue. It's an incredible opportunity right now. And we've already seen. I want to add, we've already seen that the stock can move. We saw it last year. So it's like it's like a racehorse that we've seen them win the Kentucky Derby, right? I mean, it can do it again, or it can do it on another. It's not. This is not like one of these things which is never done. This is done it already. So we're gonna see it's gonna do it again.
Correct.
Okay, Brent. So things are looking good. Let's get an update from you in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Once you get this some more visibility on the Indonesia side. One last question I want to ask you is what's happening with NASDAQ? I think you talked about a NASDAQ uplisting. Is that still in the works?
Well, I think that if one was to look at this week's filings, they would see that we just filed an S3. I think it was Tuesday. It was on Tuesday. That is typically a preface towards an uplisting.
Okay. Okay. So things are in the works, basically.
They are, and we've
Okay.
we've definitely said that before. As with the other things, we're getting a lot more aggressive around them.
Okay. Okay. So there's multiple counts. You get the Nasdaq. There's the Nasdaq couple of things. I'm not like I don't. I mean, we've seen stocks move in advance of that, so that could be something. But really, I think the emerging market spin out, that's really going to be a I think a game changer. So on that note, Brent, thank you, and we'll look forward to hearing more from Logiq in the coming weeks.
Great. Thanks, Jack.
Okay. Thank you again.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, let me just reset the internet. Apparently, we're having a bad internet connection before we bring on Jay. Let me just say hello to Jay first. Jay, you there?
Yes.
Okay,
Hello.
Jay. Okay, you told me because you're traveling. You're in Mexico right now, right?
Yes, I'm in Mexico, but I have to say my internet is vastly better than yours this morning.
Okay. You're at a undisclosed. You're not kidnapped, right? You're not kidnapped.
No, not so far.
Okay. Jay, I'm gonna log out and try to reset the connection. So just stand by. Don't go away. Keep the people entertained if you can. Meanwhile, okay? Hang on a second.
I don't know how to juggle. I didn't bring my guitar. I'm not sure what to do. No juggling, no guitar. My drum kit, don't have that.
Jay.
Jack.
Jay, is this better?
It seems better, yeah.
Okay, so we get I understand. There's something called Mercury. Are you familiar with Mercury retrograde? It's an astrological phenomenon.
Astronomical or astrological?
Astrological phenomenon. This is
No.
What's going on? No, so it actually affects like lots of stuff. I'm going to use that as the excuse. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So let's get. Okay. Wow. We get. I'm glad I logged out. We got more people that joined. So, but you can hear me.
Maybe you should log out again if you want to add a few more people.
You can hear me. Okay. Yeah.
Internet I can.
Is good? Okay.
5x5, as the military guys say. Yes.
Okay. 5x5. And you know what? I just saw we had a hang on a second. Where is my guy? Skippy made a $9.99 donation for the internet. I don't see where, but he's something.
So he's got. Unfortunately, Skippy, I've just packed my bag, getting ready for my flight home, and in that bag is my Mets jacket. So,
Jay, I didn't know you were a Mets fan.
I'm not. I went to a very cold game once, and I was underdressed, and I had to buy a Mets jacket. That's the true story.
There we go. Okay, because I thought you're an official Canadian.
I am. Okay. But I did live in New York for a couple of years, and if you're in the boroughs, it's Mets. If you're in the city, it's Yankees. So I was in the boroughs, and so it's Mets.
You have to go with. Okay, so let me get everything set up, and we'll get started. Okay, so we got. Okay, so we get the VSBY thing here. Hang on a second. Okay. Okay. Apparently, everybody's happy with this internet connection. Okay.
Great.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. Now, Jay, we're going to be doing a demo, right? Today, you're going to be showing a demo.
I'm going to be showing a video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip to parts of the video that I think are meaningful and respond to some of the routine questions that I get. As a quick aside, there's going to be people on this stream here that have maybe seen some of this before, but hopefully I've got some new content for people.
There's always new people. Yeah, there's always. Yeah. So now I asked you before, what are you going to show? So it's a surprise. You didn't.
It's not really a surprise. I'm going to show you a little bit about what's happening here in Mexico with Modelorama. I'm going to show a new marketing video, a clip of a new marketing video around what we're doing for Cooler with Imbera. And we've got a new video for Store as Media that I want to run through really quickly.
It's going to be a lot of show and tell here. Okay, so Jay, let's get things set up. Can you do a share screen there?
I can. Let me get that right now.
Okay, everybody likes the internet now.
Tell me when you can see this, Jack.
Okay, not yet.
Not yet, hey? I think I shared properly. Let me reshare. Okay. Stand by.
Oh, also, we're going to have, while you're getting this set up, just want to let everybody know to get your questions ready. I want to have a lot of, I want to spend time with audience questions today. I'm only going to ask you a few questions. I'm going to mostly have people ask you questions with.
Okay.
Here we go. With the. So you're ready to press play or whatever you need to do, right?
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is going to zip to certain parts of the. Let
me do. You know what I'll do? Just because we're going to cut this for the internet later, so I'm going to do a quick intro for YouTube, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Okay.
Okay. Fine.
So I'm just going to do a quick thing. So yes. Everybody, thank you for everybody for your patience. Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, September 30th, 2021. We are back with VSBLTY Group, VSBGF over the counter. And as always, our goal is to bring you those stocks which have 10x to 100x upside potential. And VSBLTY is definitely one of those. So again, we're looking for companies which have three things going. One, addressing massive multi-billion-dollar market opportunities. Two, they are at a key inflection point. And three, there are multiple catalysts in place that can ignite share price increases in the short term. We've already had, 7-8 stocks that are up between 10x and 50x, and hopefully VSBY is going to become our 8th or 9th 10-bagger of 2021. So with that said, Jay, we're going to do a quick show and tell of the big VSBY opportunity. I'm going to disappear. I'm going to come back, and then we're going to open up for Q&A. Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine. I've got maybe 4 topics I want to cover, and I'll cover them as quickly as I can, perhaps 3 minutes. Okay, so I've been getting a lot of questions of what exactly is store as a medium. Just as a quick aside, this may sound slightly cryptic, but we are now advancing this concept and idea with multiple partners. I think people that have followed the company know that we've been a close partner with Intel for quite a while. But what's next on the agenda for us in terms of next strategic step is this concept and idea is now moving into a consortium of companies that is really going to be pushing it and leading the process of this idea. I'm going to let this play really quickly. Like I said, some of you have seen this before, but it really does underline and really emphasize the value of the store as a media channel. And really, we're seeing that right here in Modelorama, right in Mexico. Some of the things that we are talking about as an organization is why is it having the impact? And of course, it has multiple modalities and disciplines to that response. But the principal and at least initial response is that it incorporates enormous data and lift. You sell more product and you learn more about the consumer engagement. As we learn more about consumer engagement as an industry, we're going to be able to curate or optimize the store location. Just really quickly, I'm going to rewind really quickly, so I want to speak to this. Multiple activation types, all of which were traditionally analog, non-digital, now becoming digital. This is an end cap. That's a kiosk. This is a cooler door. There'll be more on that later. And then we have the unique proprietary components of visibility that have the location-based or proximity-based advertising. This is an example of a live moment. People are asking me, okay, what does it look like? What's an actual installation like? They're small. In Canadian speak, they're about I don't know where my internet went. My apologies. In Canadian speak, they're about 10 meters square, maybe as much as 15. And so there are very few specific products in that. And it's mostly beverage, confectionery, snacks, that sort of thing. But we're measuring all components of the consumer engagement, where they go in the store, what they interact with in the store, how long they interact. You can see on the right-hand side, this is a cooler engagement. This happens to be a Modelorama in Mexico City. The person is now incented to make an impulse buy or a buy that they had intended to make. I'll show you the impulse in just a moment. The lift, as we just described, and all the time we're measuring demographic information and dwell information, gaze information as to where this particular consumer is looking and what product she's engaged with. There's a digital display, and you'll see just above that display a camera, upper left. That camera is measuring all the movements of the person, as you can see here, and connecting it. And I'm going to stop this for a moment. Back up 1 second. The metrics on the left side is the money shot. This is what advertisers are interested in, and they've never had it before. They've had it and are routinely used to getting it on the internet when they buy internet impressions. They do not get it on in-store. Sorry, I just had a glitch on my, there you go. She's now seeing a display on that display, and now she's being impacted by an impulse buy. She's being directed by the impresario to, okay, the product you just saw on the screen is right there. Now we're selling products specifically because the digital display is prompting an impulse buy and measuring the entire experience. What I'm moving into quickly here is a specific marketing piece we've done with Embera, which, as a reminder, is the largest manufacturer of coolers in the world. We're now very much inflected into this business. You're going to see some revenue in Q3 connected to this, and more significant revenue in Q4 as we're really beginning to dig in with some major customers. It's unique because it is capable of full transparency as if it were glass, and then in a second go to complete opaque and display, almost like a television would be. What's relevant about that is its capability on the transparency is critically important because brand people want you to see their brand. And if it's being obfuscated by advertising, they don't like that. Now you can see the brand whilst also seeing the advertising. And that's what's critical about this. This is proprietary technology that was recently patented. We share this and combine this with a South African company with whom we have a strong working relationship. And the combined product is really pretty fascinating and quite significant. I'm going to mention this really quickly because this is actually an award-winning grocery terminology end cap, end of an aisle, that is digital, interactive. It's got the ability to do QR codes. It's got cameras, and it has what you might call situational awareness. It knows which zip code it's in, and it automatically pulls down from the internet the pollen count in that area. And you can imagine that's just a unique sort of gimmicky example of how we're merging IoT or the internet information with what's happening in store. An analysis here really quickly is what we're doing for how we measure visitors and impressions. This is a much longer conversation, so I'm going to skip it for the time being and move directly to what we're doing on the weapons side. This is a specific demo that we did for a large PD, police department, where we're actually doing facial recognition at the same time as weapons detection. We do it inside, and what you'll see is we'll see classifications of the type of weapon, long gun, or handgun, and POI and identification. This would obviously be plucking this person out of a database if they match the database. Here's the really important piece, and I'm going to stop it for just a moment. We're doing multiple things here. On the bottom of this, as you see those bubbles, we're doing a weapons detection alert. We're connecting that to a dashboard. Gosh, my screen just went again. We're connecting that to a dashboard. We're doing a security assessment, and we're mapping the movements of the shooter geospatially within the building. The red is where the shooter is. The teal is where the shooter was. That's critically important because police, when they arrive, want to know where the shooter is geospatially. If he's on the east wing, they'll go to the east wing. If he's on the west wing, they'll go there. And why this is important is the tragedy at Parklawn, which we all remember quite well. 90% of the students who died bled out. They bled out because the police couldn't enter or wouldn't enter the building because they didn't know where the shooter was. So if you're talking about AI with camera technology and weapons detection, you can not only identify where the shooter is, but more importantly, where he is not. And so if the shooter's in the east wing, you can evacuate the west wing. And we're getting enormous momentum on this right now. We're participating in a large event at the end of this month where we're displaying this, and this will be the title demo.
Jay, we lost your screen share.
Oh, I ended the screen share.
You ended.
At the end, yeah.
That's it? We're done with the screen?
Yeah, I moved quickly because I did want to leave time for questions, and by my clock, we only have 8 minutes left, so I wanted to be brief.
Jay, listen, Jay, for you, we have all the time in the world. We got a lot of questions to address here, a ton of questions. Okay, so I'm glad the internet is good here. All right, so, okay, I got a bunch of questions. Let me start from the top. I'm going to start with the audience questions, and then I'll ask a couple of questions that I have. Okay. This is the key question. The installs, you're in Mexico right now, right? So this is what's going on with how is the installation going? How many do you have right now?
I attended a board meeting on Tuesday, a long one, for the joint venture. The joint venture, for a reminder, is VSBLTY. It's our local Mexican partner, Retelligent, and it's Anheuser-Busch. And it was a lengthy board meeting, and it was really productive. And they are saying, AB InBev is saying that they're requiring us or urging us not to speak about the cadence until we're at December, because there are competitive forces, not only here in Mexico, principally in Mexico, but elsewhere as well, that they want to get far enough in front of that there's no emulation opportunity. And while that's difficult for me as a public company CEO, I have to take a balanced approach to this. So I don't want to disrupt the apple cart, as it were. I can say this, though. Our cadence initially described as 5,000 by the end of this year. We still believe we can make that objective, and we're very comfortable with the pace at which we're going at the moment. I have to confess that the first couple of months, because of supply chain and training up Tech Mahindra, were difficult, but Tech Mahindra put a bunch of labor on this thing. And I was actually at their facility yesterday, and I'm really delighted that we're now moving at an install pace that's about 100 to 150 a week, which is spectacular as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so that's okay. So that's about on pace, and it's gonna pick up from there also.
It will.
Okay.
That install pace I gave you was Mexico. It's different in Peru, Colombia, and Ecuador, where the other installations are occurring. But Mexico's got the greatest velocity at the moment, and the greatest media market, frankly.
It's funny. Pretty much we've just been talking about Mexico, but really, so you're in 4 other countries. How many other countries are you in right now doing this?
We're in 4, and though I can't disclose the 5th, there's a 5th coming fast, and it was the topic of a good chunk of our Tuesday meetings.
Okay, so just to repeat again, the countries you're now, besides Mexico, you got Mexico,
Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Mexico.
Okay, so and expanding, and this is just the deal with one group. Okay.
By the first quarter of 2022, we will be the largest in-store media network in Latin America.
And again,
so rapid growth.
Okay, okay, so Jay, I think this is very important because the largest in-store media network has that position has a market value. What is that worth dollar-wise? For somebody to be able to buy that.
I don't think of it that way. I'm not rejecting the notion or the idea. I just don't think of it that way. What I think of is at 5,000 stores, our license revenue is about $100,000 a month. But the media value is 20x that. At least
2 million a month.
At least we've got a rate card that starts at low. It's got a range, right? And at the low end of that, that's where that is. And our participation in that media revenue is 30%. So this thing is growing and growing.
Profit. It's almost pure profit.
Well, you've already built the infrastructure, right? So it's like you built a highway, and then every car that runs in that highway basically runs without any specific expense connected to its construction. And it's really the same idea.
Right, it's almost like a royalty, essentially. And you're basically getting a third of the ad spend. It's basically, it's like a royalty.
So this week was not dedicated to managing all the process of building the network. That seems to be underway. And though it might have been bumpy in April, May, we've sorted through that with the alignment with Tech Mahindra. This week was about optimizing media, making this known and aware in the media space. And that's why I'm sort of characterizing the week as phenomenally successful. We've got some enormous opportunities for some significant strategic connections. We've got global initiatives underway as well that are complementary to that in terms of valuing the media that we're building. And I'm really excited about the prospects of potentially just blowing it out of the park on the media side.
Okay, Jay, by the way, the demo you did with the cooler, we got questions related to it. It's amazing. It's really amazing stuff. We haven't seen that is some really incredible stuff. And also the location-based thing. It's funny, I think it was for Claritin or something, for pollen or whatever it is. So you talked about it before, but now you actually, when you show it, so people can see how this works in a pharmacy, it's incredible. It's
so there's
a pollen count increase in this county, and all of a sudden, Claritin, the maker of Claritin, they're able to market ads wherever there's an increase in pollen or flu goes, whatever that is, the weather or whatever.
As he impacted by impulse desires. And if I'm reminded when in a drugstore that I have allergies and oh my gosh, the allergy or pollen is going up, I better buy. And it's a $32 average ticket. It's got enormous impact. It's got a 30% lift. It's significant. So we're not talking. And when we did this with Moet Hennessy, this is back in 2017, we were selling $100 bottles of champagne on an interactive surface. The lift was 28%. They won awards for it. And that's an average ticket of $100. So this works. It has enormous impact. And not to mention, as we've discussed before, all of the value of the data, which for the moment, we don't even have to talk about. We're talking about the lift, the actual velocity, sales velocity.
Okay. Next time we have to get you back on and really spend time with it, because the video stuff was amazing. I want to see if we can address as many questions as possible.
Sure.
Okay. So it is currently the retailer trade show with Sensormatic and Can you briefly explain how integrated VSBY software into Sensormatic environment will increase sales? So this guy, I think he's in Germany. It's kind of German English. I don't know if you can understand.
English.
Okay. English. Yeah.
So Sensormatic is in the last, last day of its fiscal year today. And we've been spending all the time in the last several months training up multiple Tiger teams within Sensormatic to achieve the following vision. The store is a repository of data. Sensormatic is the world leader in anti-theft solutions, loss prevention solutions for stores, for retail. They're the biggest provider for retail solutions. But metrics around loss prevention are only one metric that are gathered up in stores. Think of consumer engagement, point of sale, customer journey, inventory management. All those are other data sets. The relationship that we've carved within Sensormatic and that they've recently reinvigorated because they brought us into more business units is to achieve the concept of the store with multiple moving parts, both customer facing, both offense, if you will, and defense, operating, inventory management, loss prevention, consumer engagement, all that built together with computer vision for a view of the store in real time across a scale of stores. That's the Sensormatic vision. And why we're so optimistic about our work with them. Probably our first large deal will happen with them in the fourth quarter of this year, the first quarter of their next year.
Okay, here comes a interesting question. Jay, what potential do you see for the Onyx glass? Has this gained traction? This is the thing you were just showing, right? That's the cooler.
Well, I'll break it down for you. The Onyx glass is the actual glass that is able to be retrofitted into existing coolers. That retrofit's important, or deployed in brand new coolers. So that's the hardware piece. We augment it by our content management system and our computer vision to make it a complete experience. Now, the market addressability. I'll just give you some simple stats. Our close friends at Anheuser-Busch have 60,000 coolers in the small country of Ecuador on the balance sheet. Our friends at Coca-Cola have 21 million coolers on the balance sheet in the USA. These guys,
they own it?
They own it. The asset is owned by them.
They own these coolers.
Not a lot of people know this. So what they do is they merchandise these coolers. And merchandise is just a sexy way of saying they highlight them, they run programs on them, they wrap them with their colors, all that sort of thing. So the innovation of the innovation of transparent coolers in that space allows them to merchandise with interactive digital, which is mind-blowing to them. They know it works in terms of velocity. I've mentioned the metrics before. And now they've got ability to deliver bespoke custom messaging at the point of sale. So what is the addressable market? Well, there's probably 50 million coolers in North America and South America that are owned by multiple beverage companies. So what's the addressable market? 5%, 10%? I can tell you that the single biggest billings impact for us in Q4 will be cooler.
Okay. Yeah, I wish we could show that video again with the coolers. I don't know if you can skip because just for the thing later.
I have the ability
just to basically get this into people's heads, because I never saw that before. The demo you did just now, I haven't seen before. It's pretty cool. Wait,
it's fresh.
So fresh. That's the word from that's what the kids say, right? Is that
that's what the creator? Yeah, fresh.
So okay, so basically, right now the coolers that I've seen, like the Coca-Cola, they're kind of wrap. It's like a vinyl wrap or something they might have. It's like, that's it.
Well, they're non-digital. They're not sexy. They're not digital.
So you can retrofit. You can retrofit those coolers with this glass. How do you monitor? How will you make money with these coolers? Then you're going to monetize. How are you going to do that?
Well, we are the only company that Onyx is selling this with. We've got a locked-in relationship that it's exclusive in nature. We're expanding that locked-in relationship to Embera and one other cooler manufacturer that I can't yet name at the moment. But our go-to-market is, if you want to do transparent cooler, as opposed to a film that goes on top of the cooler that might be digital that you can't see through, and there is technology like that out there, but it's not ours, and it's vastly inferior because you can't see through it. The best way to piss off a product guy is to make his packaging not visible by the consumer. That's the best way to get on the wrong side of that guy. So our go-to-market is to deploy these coolers, generally and initially large beverage players, alcoholic and non-alcoholic, will buy these. Instead of buying analog coolers, they'll buy digital coolers. They might initially buy 100, 500, 1,000, but the opportunity for this category is enormous, just based upon the metrics I've given you.
How much? Okay, so give us the numbers. Okay, so when you retrofit, right? So let's say you sell them the piece of glass, whatever it is, right? How much do you sell it for? How do you make it? What's the recurring revenue and everything else?
This is the brilliance of my team, and I have to give the credit to the team. We sell the cooler solutions both as a CapEx, $4,000 with an ongoing SaaS fee of $50 a month,
yeah,
or as a cooler as a service.
Aha.
So instead of buying the cooler, you lease the cooler, and it's $200 a month, and it's everything's in.
$200 a month for the glass, basically.
No, the whole thing, including the cooler.
Oh, you give them the cooler also.
Well,
Okay.
if you want to retrofit, we'll do that as well. $150, $175. But if you want the cooler, it's $200 to $250, just depending upon the country.
So $200 cooler as a service, and okay, so I guess you have a financing partner to pay for the whole thing.
No, we have the largest cooler manufacturer on the planet. We don't need a financing partner.
So they're paying for it, basically. They're paying for it.
This is on their books.
It's on their books. Okay, so they have it figured out. So it's nothing to do with you. Okay. And how much do you get from that $200?
We get our licensing fees, and we source the hardware. We upcharge the hardware as part of the supply chain.
Okay, so a month, how much of that $200 are going into your pocket?
A quarter of it.
That's pretty good. $50 per cooler.
We're really happy with
that. And there's 50 million coolers out there that they own these coolers.
In our immediate pipeline, there's 50,000 coolers.
Wow. And this is, by the way, this is pure profit, essentially. This $50 a month is pure profit.
The 50 is, the hardware runs at about a 35% gross margin.
Okay. Okay. So the numbers are really, there's some significant numbers. You really have there's multiple like opportunities inside of VSBLTY. Like you got multiple things. You got the cooler as a service thing, which is rolling out. You got the store, the end cap stuff. Really, this is the transformation of retail.
On the retail side, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. On the retail side, think of us as the guys and gals that are building solutions that are digitizing retail. Kiosk solutions, end cap solutions, in-shelf solutions, refrigerator solutions, freezer solutions. All of those are ours. We happen to ride on hardware, but our win is not only the delivery of really cool, sexy content, but the measurement of that content as well. And now we're doing predictive modeling around it, all the AI that we do around it. That's just, Jack, the retail side of our business. I would argue the security business has equal and potentially a superior opportunity.
It's funny, every time we talk, the next live stream, we're going to focus on the security, because the security thing could be integrated. Again, you have multiple modules people can use in different markets. In Mexico, they like the security thing. It's important. But I think in the next live stream, we're going to spend time focusing on that side.
Sure.
So let's see if we can get to a couple more questions.
Sure.
Okay, so hopefully we can get a few. Okay, WPP. Jay, can you WPP connection?
I really can't go too deep into it at the moment, but I can just say that we've been working with them on
ad agency in the world. WPP, one of the biggest, right?
They're not only large but enormously influential. And the second part to me is just as valuable as the first part. We're connected at the very highest levels of the organization. We're doing collaborative work together. We have specific projects we're working on, and we're working on something a little bit more formal between the two organizations.
It's interesting because that's the origins of the WPP originally. I think the guy who started, he originally started with a display item for in stores, like on baskets.
Really? I'm not surprised.
So the DNA. So you actually are a good fit, because they were an in-store media in the UK or whatever back in the 80s, whatever. Okay, so great question from Vale. Can you talk about your patents?
So there's patents on the Onyx side that covers the glass and how the glass is built, how the actuator is done. An actuator would be the trigger between transparent and non-transparent. And so that whole area, we have two other patents. One of them is connected to vending, has to do with how we display in the vending world. And the third, which is still in a pending status, I'm not sure if people on the phone know this, but the U.S. Patent Trade Office is working on the 2016 file at the moment, so they're just a little bit behind. But we are here. In fact, I heard from our patent lawyer this morning that we're the last patent, which is connected to where people are in proximity to display, governs what is displayed. Who people are with reference to where they are with respect to display governs what's displayed. So an example would be a 45-year-old man shows up, we play content relevant to a 45-year-old man. If a 25-year-old female shows up, we play content relevant to it. And so all that is covered in the patent. If we granted that patent, which looks like it will happen, it should happen in the January, February time frame. And you know, it's I can point to several breaches already that would allow us to sort of do that if we were willing and desiring to go that route.
Okay. Oh wow, so we got a bunch of questions just came in. Okay, hang on a second. Let me just. I thought we only had a few. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna be running a little bit over time. So just hopefully we can get everything addressed here. Okay. Skippy is asking, will these cooler doors look too much like Thomas? Is it gonna be? Could it be too much? I don't know.
Yeah, it could be too much. Absolutely, really? Absolutely, it could. So we have to be very conscious about affecting the consumer in a negative way. Skippy, as a reminder, we measure sentiment. So if you don't like what you're seeing, we can tell you don't like what you're seeing.
Oh,
so
right. Okay. Oh, you can tone it down. You can dial down the craziness.
We can dial it down. I can tell you that no retailer or brand is going to want to light up like Las Vegas Strip, the entire area. But I can see every other door. I can see a suite of 3 doors. We've seen a lot of that, where you can run a cross panel activation, maybe a large globe that would cover all 3. And, you know, it's the idea here is we're trying to, what they call in our business, disrupt the path to purchase. If I can disrupt you, if I can slow you down, I can impact you via impulse. And that's the idea.
Okay. So, and apparently also, because again, this is based, you can do the displays based on time of day. Maybe you might want to tone it down for late at night or whatever, or different locations, or
right.
Depends on what's happening, whether, okay. What catalyst can we see in October?
So that's 30 days out. We've got some enormously important partnerships that we're doing on the agency side that are on a sort of final glide path. We have a national rollout with a large beverage company, which will be announced probably in October. It's already underway. Those are 2 important things in October. We've got an initiative that will be announced in the critical infrastructure space, which will be 5 years long and kind of an important reference account for us as we move forward. So those are 3 events in October that I think will be exciting for the organization. Oh, and I should mention that we're in the middle of closing Q3 right now, and I'm extremely happy with what I'm seeing, and I think the shareholders will be as well.
Okay. Interesting, because so last quarter, just to remind people, so last quarter you were up. Okay, so basically the bookings were 4 million and change, right? 4 million and change, which is 165% increase over the previous quarter. So quarter-over-quarter growth. In the bookings, that's the future revenue. So that's a roughly, let's call it a $16 million, $17 million run rate. That's where you were at 3 months ago. You could be higher that's what you reported based on 3 months. So right. You might be higher than that right now, right? Could be.
We could be, yep.
Could be. Okay, we're not saying anything, but okay. Okay, so Bob is asking, okay, so this is the thing that you talked about last time. Now, this could be huge. You haven't talked about it too much. This is the Austin GIS, which is the infrastructure as a service. You're a little bit cryptic about what this is. We talked about the partners. You have some huge partners, which is Tech Mahindra, this other company. What's the Indian company, the Tech, HCL, right? And now people are saying, somebody's saying that the other partners, which you did not say who they were, but they are saying that it's Intel and Ability. Will you confirm or deny?
Well, I don't think he's asking me to. Hopefully he's not asking me to. You know what? When you do business with these big companies, they give you guardrails. I mean, I sat through a meeting on Tuesday where I was given guardrails, and I don't like them. But on balance, I'm not prepared to disrupt the partnership in a way that might appear to be cowboy just because it allows me to message to the street in a more transparent way. I'm desirous of doing that, and I'll do it whenever I can do it. But I'm not going to risk the commercial progress just to do that. And on the Intel side, I am not confirming or denying that Austin GIS has Intel as an equity partner, but we've had a long relationship with them, and that kind of makes sense. But they will disclose in their time. And just a reminder of who the 3 other partners are. RYAHF, which is our Mexican partner, small like VSBLTY, HCL, a $20 billion market cap company, and Tech Mahindra, a $52 billion market cap company. So these are enormous companies. Of course, for us, what they solve each in their own right is the ability to deliver. They are delivery rails for us. Tech Mahindra on the retail side, HCL on the security side, both of them in 100+ countries. Sorry,
okay,
go ahead.
And one thing you talked about last time, which is this infrastructure as a service, it's basically, this is going to launch, you're saying it's going to show some significant revenues this year, right?
Yes, this quarter we're about to enter. Yes.
Okay, so this is already. Can you talk about what they're doing though? Can you talk about the service?
Well, they have 3 primary services, and more will be added later.
Okay.
Retail analytics as a service. Anybody on this web stream will probably understand who the software is underneath that offering. Security, surveillance as a service. That's visibility and RYAHF combined together, just like we did in Mexico City. And the third one is 5G as a service. There will be others. They're interested in energy. They're interested in utilities. We're bringing to them some opportunities with critical infrastructure. So what their reason for living is, they bring financial weight to the conversation. They have a $60 to $100 million ability to loan against long-term contracts. So their hunting requirements are, the deal's got to be 200 million or bigger, and it's got to be 5 years of length, and it generates revenue by way of infrastructure as a service. So if you take the visibility piece, the RYAHF piece, and all the other pieces together, combine them under a single CapEx, they take that CapEx and turn it into an OpEx. That's what Austin GIS does.
It's like, I think, what is it? Brookfield. You were working with Brookfield? I think,
Brookfield, Macquarie out of Australia that does this with large public infrastructure. It's a good model.
Okay. So very interesting. Okay, so there's some interesting things in the works. I guess you're not really giving us details. I guess the details will emerge in the next month or two of what this.
I won't put anything at risk in for the sake of transparency. I just can't at the moment.
Okay. Okay. ABI. Do you think? Okay. Are we going to see those coolers in the U.S.?
My guess would be yes. I'm not speaking about a specific project I'm aware of, cryptically, but my guess would be yes. The first adopter of the first version of this product, which was vastly different in a lot of ways, back in 2015, was ABI. So they've already shown this is before there was computer vision. This is before there was edge computing. This was before a lot of the components that are now part of the offering. And they showed interest in that. I think they bought 2,000 of them at the time. So I would imagine that we'll see that happening. I can tell you that particular customer on the Latin American side is very interested.
Okay. Interesting question. Somebody like Pat, in other words, if you're doing these disco coolers, does it take up more electricity?
I'm going to write the disco coolers down and share that with our marketing department. So LCD panels, comparatively speaking, I mean, a cooler has a compressor in it. You want to talk about the power hog in a cooler, it's the compressor.
Okay.
So we're only adding about 5 to 8% power to that, and because it's LCD and it's a high efficiency LCD, and in the case that we're retrofitting, they've already got power consumption from the compressor, and we're just adding to that. So it has not ever come up as a significant barrier for sales.
Okay. Jay, we're really completely out of time. So we're gonna have to catch up with you next time. I want to really spend time on one of these. We're gonna pick one of these things, maybe either the infrastructure or the security side. We're a demo of the coolers, but we're gonna do one of those things. But I think we picked up some good things. One thing I just did want to mention is you added to your board of directors Sensormatic guy, which I think is very compelling, which we didn't really bring up, but that's big.
I'm in his unbelievable strategic mind. And he's already at work.
What is he going to be doing for you?
Well, he's sitting on the board, so he's got a fiduciary and governance requirement, clearly. But I brought him in to be sort of a working guy. And so he's going to help me, directly work with me on strategic items. My job is to look 6 to 12 months out. We're a small company in a universe crowded with large players, so we need to think better than them, or certainly equally as good as them. And we need to execute better than them. So Amin is here to help me, having the pedigree that he has, which includes HP retail, Sensormatic, he's a very solid strategic mind, and he'll help us craft the strategy.
What did he do at Sensormatic that's like directly applicable to what you're doing? Like, how is it, like, what's the fit there? Because it sounds like there's some sort of strategic fit.
He was responsible for crafting our role inside of Sensormatic and then laying down the execution rails to make that happen. But he's also responsible for all M&A, not only at Sensormatic, but some of the JCI stuff as well. So if you're responsible for M&A, you need to have a strategic mind, because you need to know where the product fits, right? A lot of M&A due diligence is not necessarily balance sheet, it's product fit, right? And so he is extremely technical. He's an engineer, and he provides me enormous. In fact, I've spoken to him twice since he's joined for lengthy amounts of time on specific strategic items I needed his consult with.
Okay, Jay. Thank you. We're gonna catch up with you in a few weeks.
Great.
And we'll do more demos. We gotta
all right,
do
wonderful.
more of these demos. These are phenomenal. Thank you again.
All right, Jack. Thank you.
Okay. Wow. All right. Let's get ready for our next exciting presenter, Raya. Let me get this set up here. And Greg.
Yes.
Okay.
Jack.
Okay. Thanks. I'm sorry. Thank you for your patience. We had internet problems. We were running late. I thank you for hanging on. This is because we got a lot of people waiting for you here.
No problem. We're glad to be back.
Okay. So who's joining you here? We haven't met this guy. Who is this guy?
Guy here, yes. This is Jordan Medley. Jordan is head of product operations for Raya Group. Jordan has been with the company since the biblical times. He is one of the founding members of the company and is responsible for overseeing the user experience in both the hardware and software of our IoT devices. So Jordan plays a critical role in the company and will be involved in presenting the usability of some of our devices today.
Okay. So what I want to do is, okay, we're going to do a demo today, right?
We are. Yeah, we are. Should I just do a 2-minute overview of the company for those who may not?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a quick. Yeah, let me do. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me do a quick intro for the internet, and then we'll. Okay. So welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock, a live stream September 30th. We are back with Raya Group, RYAHF, over the counter RYAH on the CSE. And again, this is potentially our next 10 bagger. Potentially, we're looking for we've had again 7 or 8. We're looking for number 9. We want to close out 2021 with 10 baggers officially. So we're going to find out if Raya is going to be one. Again, so these companies, they have 3 things in common. Our next super stocks. 1, going after multi-billion-dollar market opportunities, so massive addressable markets. They're at a key inflection point right now in their growth, ready to launch new products, entering new markets. And 3, there's multiple catalysts in place, things that can ignite that shareholder share price appreciation. And this is why Raya is here. I think we're expecting some big news flow. That's one of the reasons why you're on. So with that, Greg, I look for anybody that's new. We got a lot of new people probably joining. In a nutshell, what does Raya do? What's the big market opportunity you're addressing?
Yeah, so Raya is a IoT device and digital care platform in plant-based medicine. Our goal is to collect complex, captive patient data points so that doctors and clinics and hospitals and regulators can understand the effects of plant-based medicine on patients, and especially that doctors and clinics can create those highly personalized and highly customized dosing regimens that they've been trying to chase for years. As I mentioned last time, Jack, Raya is in a unique position because we have both devices and data. If you remember last time I talked about either you're digging for gold or you're selling pickaxes, we have both. That's why sometimes it's challenging for us to compare ourselves to peers, because we have great device peers and competitors in the street, great multi-billion-dollar data analytics companies, but none of them have both in this space except us, as far as we know. And I want to just go over one more point before we get into a demo. We do have those 4 competitive moats that I will continue to drill into our audience every day. Number 1, we own all of our IP. Jordan and his team own the IP. We don't license our hardware out to anybody, and all of our software is developed in-house under Jordan's team. Number two, this is a medical device story. This is not a recreational play. We are a medically inspired company with certifications in the queue, which will allow us eventually to have statutory insurance reimbursement for our devices. Once we get that, Jack, those devices become less price sensitive because the patients will be able to be reimbursed. Number three, this is not a cannabis story. We are not married to cannabis. We're a device and data story, and we can put other medicines inside our devices. We partner with medicine handlers who put their medicine in our devices, and we provide and they distribute to their patient network. So you're looking at potential opportunities in nutraceuticals, vitamin D patches potentially for people who will be interested in using it for COVID prevention. You're looking at melatonin patches. We're looking at things like psilocybin patches and other types of medicine. So it's important that our audience knows that we are much more than a cannabis company, much more than a one-trick device company. We're a multi-device, agnostic to medicine, and we're becoming agnostic to the delivery type as well. And of course, number four, this is, again, a device and data story. That is the difference between us and everybody else. We're not trying to help close the data gap in this space. Regulators are not clear on the efficacy of cannabis. The cannabis plant is constantly evolving, very difficult to determine how it affects different demographics. We're trying to lead the industry globally, Jack, in closing the data gap in this space. And ultimately, this will become a data play. This is a data story. We don't like to look at ourselves like a PACS. We like to aspire ourselves as a Palantir or a Periscope data or a Snowflake data, and that's where we're going.
Medical data, so it's for drug development. So this is huge money in drug development data.
It's huge money in understanding, yes, and unlocking the secrets, potentially helping big pharma make medical breakthroughs in this space using our data. That's the inflection point we want to get to. Enough critical mass that data is worth renting out, and that's where we're going. By 2025, I expect 50% of this company's revenues will come from data analytics and software, not just hardware.
Is this kind of related to like that? What is it? Personalized medicine? Is this kind of touching in that space? Is this kind of in that or?
100%. The goal is to analyze patient demographics, patient dosing, patient feedback, all cross-reference with the lab results of each plant or each medicine, and that will help doctors create the right titrations. Customization is the next wave in clinical trials. It's the next wave in dosing. It's going to be used to really drill down into making optimal dosing regimens so that patients don't overdose, they don't misuse, and it will be customized by different demographics accordingly.
Now, so I was gonna say, before we get into the demo, I actually was how I don't think I asked you before. Is the medical data for drug development, the data that these guys, how big is the market opportunity? Like, what are some of the companies that are doing this? There's got to be some there's some comps. I know there's some. I can't think of them offhand, but I know there's some huge numbers because anytime they do, there's also DNA modeling. There's a lot. It's a very sophisticated business.
Multi-billion-dollar. I mean, the medical device market is about $400 billion, and that alone. And then if you're looking at data analytics, that's a whole different $500 billion plus market that we're actually touching both. And then you're looking at a third market of wellness lines that we are looking to get into. So you're right. There is this whole ecosystem of data, patient DNA, of medicine DNA, and then the effects of the patient and the medicine together. And that's where we come in. We bring both of those home. The harmony of our software, the firmware and hardware will allow the doctors not only understand how different formulations affect them in different graphics, but did the formulation change over time that it affected that patient? What was the difference between the harvest date of that plant and the dosing date? Did it affect that demographic differently? There's so many data points to unpack. We've only just started. And honestly, we're working with Moore's law now, and our innovations are becoming half as timely as they used to be, and the data is becoming more powerful.
Okay, Greg, you know what? Let's jump into that demo. I want people to see what you're doing. If they see it, and then they're going to have questions. So Let's get that demo on the screen, and then hopefully we'll get some good audience questions.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Jordan's going to run the demo. We're going to do a video because we're compressing 2.5 devices into a 7-minute session, but we're not going to just run the video because people will fall asleep. We're going to stop it. We're going to pause. We'll even allow for questions, so it'll run longer, but the video will help us paint the picture in a short period of time and then allow us to commentary over. That's why we're going to do this demo. So I'm going to share that now. And Jordan, while you're doing that, go ahead.
Yeah, and just to set the stage before we jump into this video, as a IoT data technology company, what we've done is we've created a 3-part IoT ecosystem that applies to all of our devices. So the IoT ecosystem is number 1, the hardware. So the hardware is what facilitates that dose control or that dose monitoring experience. The second part of that IoT ecosystem is the QR embedded medicine. So it's important to know that we don't touch cannabis or medicine directly, but what we do is we work directly with cannabis suppliers, and we give them the software to generate QR codes that lets them embed the lab test results of their products into a QR code, which works with our third component, the mobile app. So the mobile app lets people scan that QR code, track the exact product that they're using. It also allows them to fine-tune their dosing parameters within their device, and it also allows them to record their feedback. So after they're done using one of our products along with one of the specific cannabis medicines that they've used, they can record how they feel, and all of that gets tied back to their dose, to the product that they use, to the device that they use. And then, all of that data is analyzed to help, researchers, growers, patients better understand how all those variables affect different patient demographics.
That's right. So let's show you in practice, and we're going to use this video as a tool to guide us. I'm going to share my screen right now. And let me know, Jack, when you can see it.
And so for this video, we're going to be showing off our dry herb inhaler. We're going to be showing off our smart patch, and we're going to be showing off our smart pen, which is a smart liquid dispenser tincture style.
So Greg, I'm going to disappear, and you do the commentary.
We'll do the commentary,
and I'll come back for Q&A.
We're going to stop it every minute or so. We've got a cadence here, and feel free to jump in, but let's get it rolling. Here we go.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to give you all a closer look at our devices in action, starting with the Raya inhaler. As you saw in our previous slides, all of our products revolve around a 3-part ecosystem of the device, the medicine, and of course the mobile application, which users use to interact with the device and control their entire experience. So what I'm going to do is I'll scan a cartridge, insert it into the device, set a temp, set a dose, and record how I feel after that session. Just to begin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and scan this cartridge. So immediately it scans my cartridge and recognizes it.
So what I just showed there is us scanning the QR code with that dry herb cartridge. So that cartridge inside contains ground dry herb, and that QR code has a certain amount of THC in it, a certain amount of CBD, a certain amount of terpenes. And when you scan that QR code, the app automatically knows the exact strain that you're using and all of those percentages, and it could be tied back directly to the session that you had. Which is important for when we continue on in terms of dosing.
Yeah, think about this as a white slate of paper here. You're looking at a cannabis story, but the QR codes can be modified for any formulation. We're not bound by that, but we're using that because it's an easy tool to guide the audience. But again, think wider here. Let's open up our lenses to a wider lens of multi-formulations here, which our software team can develop with ease.
Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this open right here. I'm going to take my cartridge, pop that open as well. Pop the tube open, take the cartridge out, insert it into the device, close the chamber door, and just like that, we have a cartridge that's ready to go.
So the inhaler has a sensor on that bottom chamber door. So after you scan the QR code, you open that chamber, insert the cartridge and close it. The device now knows the exact product that you're using, and just eliminates any potential user error with tracking the right product when you're using it with our device.
So I'm going to begin heating, and while I heat up, I'm going to explain the how the app works. So the app revolves around two main screens. We have our temperature screen and we have our dosing screen. So this is temperature and this is dose. Our temperature screen allows patients to set any temperature they want from 300 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And our dosing screen allows patients to set a limit as to how much they want to inhale so they don't accidentally overconsume and experience unwanted effects. So
controlling the temperature and controlling the dose in terms of the inhaler is extremely important for getting a milligram dose. And I'll talk more about that. When you're controlling the temperature, you're actually dictating the boiling points of the various cannabinoids and terpenes that will be activated. That's very important in controlling the experience that a user is going to have with their product. Now, with the dosing, our device has a volumetric airflow sensor built right into it. So every time that you inhale, air passes through this airflow intake valve up through the heating chamber and out through the mouthpiece. And we're able to record exactly how much you're inhaling with each inhalation. And when you combine the 3 data set points of the lab test percentages of the product, the exact temperature that you're vaporizing the dry herb at, and the volume of each inhalation, you're able to combine those to calculate in real time how many milligrams of THC, CBD, any cannabinoid, and any terpene that you're inhaling, which nobody has been able to do yet. So this is extremely novel.
Right, and one final point, what you're looking here is a device that's controlled by the patient. The patient is setting the temperature, the patient is setting the milliliters to be inhaled. It's more of an open platform to allow the patients to sort of use doctors' recommendations to start small and go slow. But with the launch of Raya MD, which is a full patient-doctor collaboration portal, which is coming out very soon, the doctor can control the dose and the temperature by sending a message to the patient's app. Ultimately, the patient will approve the prescription or recommendation, depending on where you are. And then the temperature will be set and the dosing will be set by the doctor's recommendation. So we have the opportunity to give the patients an opportunity to try to find their own dosing, ideal dosing capabilities. And then of course, Raya MD will have the doctors making it locked in at the doctor's prescriptions and their recommendations.
If I jump into the presets, you'll see that we do have some built-in presets for the temperatures. We have our high, our lows, and our balanced temperature preset. But for our dosing, we have kind of 2 different modes. We have an unlimited preset, which is the default. And then think of that as like a Fitbit mobile application where it's just tracking in the background how much you inhale. We also do have session preset limits that once you inhale a certain amount, the device will tell you that you reached your dose. You can create your own presets if you want to. I went ahead and I just set a small dose, 225 mils, just for demo purposes. We actually just reached our desired temperature. Now that I am ready to begin inhaling, I'm going to swipe over to the dosing screen. And when I inhale, you'll see that it tracks in real time how much I'm inhaling. Unlike other quote unquote dose measuring vaporizers that really just beep after 5 seconds, this actually uses a volumetric airflow sensor. So if I inhale very gently, it's very, very sensitive. All of this is real-time feedback. The app can even tell me, how many draws I've taken and how much I've inhaled per draw for even more accurate statistics. Just to conclude this session, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reach my dose. When I reach my dose, the app tells me that my session is complete. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish it and take you through a session review.
All right, so before we jump into the session review, just want to recap what you guys just saw there. So what you saw was the raw volume amount that that was inhaled during that session. And like I said before, when you're combining the exact temperature of what you're vaping at, the lab test results of the product that you're using, and the volume that you inhale, you can actually determine the milligrams of a cannabinoid or a specific terpene. And the overall goal, which we're doing right now with RYAHMD, is giving users the ability to know, okay, if I inhale this specific volume at this temperature, I'm gonna get my X milligram dose of THC that my doctor prescribed, or my X milligram dose of CBD that my doctor wants. And what's cool about that is that it's all dynamic. So if you have a strain that has 20% THC, or a strain that has 12% THC, we can adjust on the fly how much you should inhale at what temperature, so that you could standardize that milligram dose.
Yeah, so very quickly, what we're looking at is from the patient's perspective, but on the other side, you have the doctors looking at the same data in real time. The doctors can see patient demographics, and of course, the dosing, how many milliliters inhaled, what temperature was set, how many draws per session, how many milliliters per draw. All of that data is important for the doctors to be able to understand how do we narrow down to the ideal dosing regimen? What is the right temperature? What is the right strain? What time of day versus the different demographics? All of this is critical, but let's not underestimate what Jordan just said about the milligram to milliliter conversion model. In RYAHMD, doctors will recommend THC or CBD or whatever in milligrams. That's the standard doctor protocol, and the patient will know immediately what it means to them in milliliters to be inhaled. It is so novel, guys, that we are patenting that. It's patented within our overall device patent. The milligram to milliliter conversion model has never been done before in this business. And to allow the doctors to have no roadblocks in determining how much they are normally used to prescribing and what the patients now can confidently inhale, it's groundbreaking work. And that is what we're doing with the University of Milan to further validate that conversion curve. Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
It gives me a nice overview of the session that I just had. It's going to ask me, how was my session overall? How were you feeling, both mentally and physically? And you can record either good or bad, depending on how you're feeling. So if you had a strain that negatively affected you, you could record that and know for the future what to avoid. Physical effects as well. And last but not least, you can rate the symptoms of your medical condition on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being better, 0 being worst. That is a session review that allows us to understand how these different temperatures, doses, strains are affecting patients. Our growers get access to this data. Of course, that data is available for researchers to figure out how these different cannabinoids and terpenes affect different patient demographics at different temperatures, different doses.
I think maybe some people are starting to sense a theme. But yeah, what you just saw right there is the post-session questionnaire. Lets users track how they feel after a session, lets them tie it back to the specific strain that they use, the dose that they inhaled. That data can be shared with the QR code creator who supplied the medicine. And if your doctor is a RYAHMD doctor, they can have that data shared with them as well. The session review is just meant to be a very simple, very easy to fill out questionnaire that should take no more than 10 seconds to submit, and everything's standardized. So there's no typing in anything. You just tap on how you feel, and the analytics, the way that it's presented in our backend dashboard is just very easy to see. You can see, for example, 40% of users who vaporized this product, felt this way, and they can go and modify it by temperature. So you could say, all right, now if we take a look at people who vape that product at this temperature range, here's how they feel, and then you could adjust by dose accordingly. So there's an infinite amount of data points that you can get from this. But the other thing that I think is really cool is that we love clinical trials. We think our devices and our IoT ecosystem are perfect for facilitating on-site or remote clinical trials. And what we offer as a service are custom software solutions that can implement custom questionnaires that are tailor-made for the study. So if you're a researcher, you're trying to conduct a specific study and you want to ask a specific question to a patient, you could go ahead and do that with us. So rather than being limited to our default questionnaire, you can just upload your own, personalized questionnaire. And again, those answers will be tied back to the exact session that the patient had. And you could do tons of, you could go as crazy as you want. You could do baseline questionnaires. You could do scheduled weekly questionnaires, quarterly questionnaires, in addition to that post-session questionnaire. So the amount of data that can be collected can be, nobody's ever done anything like this before. We're really, really excited about it.
We need to understand, again, the software component is a double win for us. So we have created a customized software solution for our UK partner in a clinical trial, a very large one. We are finishing another one for the country of France for a large distributor, where obviously it's language specific. We have Italian, German, French, Netherlands is coming, Spanish is also coming. But these customized mobile application software are a double win for us because all of our software developers are in-house, so we retain all of the revenues from the statement of work associated with software development. And of course, if they're going to use customized software that are linked to our Raya devices, well, we know they're buying devices as well. So this custom capability allows us to lock in both hardware and software revenues. And we're not shy about creating custom software solutions. We're good at it. We have a wide lens. We can do it globally. And, for the right trials, a lot of these work well for, mitigating any variables associated with patient data in these trials.
Yeah. Also,
yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
Oh, I was gonna, okay. I was gonna ask about the revenue model, the business. Some questions coming in. Sure. Jordan, you were gonna say something? I'm sorry, I interrupted here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it could also help. Our ecosystem can help validate the study and remove any variables and make sure that people are actually adhering to the protocol. So, if you're doing a remote dosing study with cannabis, someone could pack in their own medicine if they wanted to. They might not have to, if they're going on a website.
There's a lot of variables. I mean, it seems like I actually didn't know this, that the temperature makes it different. So there's a whole bunch of variables and this thing kind of does everything automatically for you.
The strain could be inconsistent, the temperature could be inconsistent, the patient forgets to do the questionnaires. All of this is locked into a closed loop ecosystem and making the clinical trials not only easier to handle, but actually makes them more valid. And so that is an important component. Again, we're not trying to chase the rec space. We're looking to dominate the clinical space. And there's a business there, and it's an important business.
And is this only, so essentially the device monitors anything based on inhalation, is that right? Is there any other way of?
We have other devices to show you. We got about 3 minutes left in the.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the dry herb inhaler. This is the inhalation route of administration, but we also have a patch and we also have a dose measuring liquid dispenser that could be dispensed into your favorite drink, or it could be dispensed into the oral mucosal lining of your mouth and absorbed that way as well.
Each one of these devices, Jack, has its own customized mobile application because the titrations are different, the method of delivery is different. The questionnaires will probably be different in many cases. So we create, verticals, devices and software, and obviously the devices are the one-time big revenue stream, and then the recurring revenues are the patches or the cartridges that are, our recurring revenue over time. So it is really a razor blade model. Most of the audience has not seen the patch, the smart patch in action. And really we are now finish our prototyping and we are entering our production stage. So I think the patch will be pretty cool to see if you're ready. Let's do it.
And next we have some of our latest technology. This right here, RYAH patch, you can see it's very thin, very comfortable and non-intrusive when you're wearing it. This right here is the patch. I actually have it in two different parts. This part right here is where our filling partners via syringe will apply the medicine, and then they will attach the release liner to the actual patch, which the patient buys as one product itself. The way that it'll work.
So really quick, that is a solution for cannabis suppliers who may not have a $100,000, patch formulation, piece of equipment. So, what we want to do is make it much more accessible for people who have the formulations but don't have the ability to create patches to actually do that with us. In addition to giving these suppliers the ability to create their own patches, we will also have our own line of patches as well.
A licensed producer can go from being just an oil provider to instantly becoming a topical patch provider. So what you're seeing here, Jack, is a reservoir style patch, which is what we give to our medicine handling partners. Again, we provide empty cartridges, empty patches, and they fill that with their medicine and they distribute to their patient network. We also have a nutraceutical line where we control the patch formulations. These are hydrogel patches, or maybe in adhesive and matrix patches that the formulation is licensed by us or owned by us, and we control the entire revenue stream associated with that. But on the medicine line, we work with the reservoir style patch so that's easy to fill. And again, it could be an instantaneous change to the formulations partners, economic vertical by adding another ancillary device to their formulations.
Work is patients will pair their device. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to search. And now we are paired. Just like the inhaler, it's going to ask to scan the patch. So I'm going to scan this patch QR code right here. It immediately recognizes the exact patch that you're going to use. It's going to tell you how much medicine is included, how long it's supposed to last, how well this formulation has worked for you in the past.
I think that's just a good point right there, is that, a lot of times when people wear patches, they have no idea how long they should wear it. They don't know how long the medicine is lasting. And one of the cool things about having a smart patch is that it could tell you exactly how much medicine is included, how long it's supposed to last, and it can even alert you as to when you should remove your patch. And then that way you never feel like, am I taking it off too early? Or have I been wearing this for the past 4 hours and it hasn't been doing anything for me? With this app, it'll just make life a lot easier and you don't have to do any more guessing. Yeah.
Just like the RYAH inhaler, but now for the patch. Something new with this app, though, is that we do ask where you're going to put the patch on your body. It allows you to better take control of your patch regimen. When I tap on the right shoulder, it'll give me some stats based upon my previous reviews. Next, it'll tell me how to attach the patch.
I'm just gonna pause right there. Where you put the patch on your body can actually play a significant role in how quickly you experience effects, how well it works for you. And doctors will recommend different site applications depending on your needs and the product that you're using. And this is just an easy way for patients to keep track of which site location works best for them, and to also just remember where they put it on last. Because a lot of times, you'll have a doctor say, okay, I want you to put the patch on your left wrist, and then the following day I want you to put it on your right wrist. That way you're not, using the same exact site location every single time. So the app will tell you, yesterday you wore it on your left shoulder. Would you like to wear it on your right shoulder? Just as an example.
Very simple. You just have this disposable patch right here, and you have the brain, and all you need to do is click it in place. And then all you need to do is, as a patient, there's a little liner right here that keeps the medicine from coming out of the patch. You just peel that off and you just put it on your shoulder. It will stick very, very well. We're using high grade 3M materials. that are standard within the patch industry. One last thing that I wanted to show off was our boosting capabilities. You can control when you get that extra boost of medication via the mobile app. Based upon, when your symptoms are worse, we could create a custom boost schedule for you that will automatically boost the patch during those times of day. Just for demo purposes.
So that's one of the really cool things about this smart patch is you can do an on-demand boost for acute side effects. So if you're not getting the relief that you want, rather than having to have the urge to slap on another patch or take a secondary medication, you could go ahead, activate the boost. And what the boost is, if we haven't explained it clearly, is the hardware component, which we call the patch brain, has a heating element built directly into it. And when you activate the boost, it heats up, which increases the absorption rate of the formulation within the patch and makes it easier to pass through this semi-permeable membrane. So again, if you're not getting the effect that you want and you're having acute pain or any other symptom, you can go ahead and boost on demand. Or if you have symptoms that are predictable at certain times of the day, like for example, if you suffer from pain in the middle of the night, you're always waking up, you could wear your patch and set your patch to automatically intermittently boost throughout the night. Or if you wake up in the morning with extreme pain, you could set your patch to boost 30 minutes before your alarm goes off in the morning. That way you'll get an extra boost right before you wake up, so you wake up pain-free. And again, this is novel. Nobody's ever done this before. And we're hoping that it improves the experience that people have when using a patch.
So Jack and the audience, this is where we talk about game changers here. So what Jordan just basically said is, you'll be able to turn on and off your dosing on your shoulder with your iPhone. That has never been done before in plant-based medicine. And I'll show you how. Each of these release liners have different porosities. So with different formulations, we can go from slow dose to almost absolutely no dose until you heat it. So think about a child with epilepsy or ADHD who goes through cycles of needing medicine quicker. Think about a truck driver who doesn't want to take a number of coffee breaks and he wants to stay awake because he has to ingest coffee and stop and go to the restroom. What if he had a caffeine patch that had limited his need to take more truck stops? This is a pharmaceutical chain that came to us on the idea. We didn't give it to them. That is the power of being able to control a transdermal or topical dose. And again, any formulation that has the right molecule size along with the viscosity and density associated with standard patch formulations will and should work. And we're working with different partners in the psychedelic space, nutraceutical space, female hormone therapy is possible. This is the future. And I cannot tell you, you should not underestimate the possibility of this patented technology. This is something that could really be game-changing in the topical space.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the on-demand boost by tapping on this button right here. It's going to show you how the temperature starts to increase in real time. And you'll see that this patch is now lighting up green to indicate that it's actually boosting. The temperature is warm enough to increase the absorption rate of the medicine through the transdermal layer of the skin, but not high enough to actually affect the composition of the medicine within the patch. So for patients who, are looking for an alternative to vaporizing, this patch right here is the perfect solution for on-demand relief. We have our Raya pen. This is early in the prototype stage though, but I wanted to give you all just a sneak peek. Just like our slides show, this device will allow you to dispense a specific amount of liquid into your drink or directly into the mouth, whatever you prefer. It will have more information.
So with the Raya pen is a smart pen that dispenses a very specific amount of liquid, either into your favorite drink or directly into your mouth. And the reason why that is important is because dosing with tincture is not always easy. You know, you have a dropper that, you know, someone will say take 3 drops, for example. Well, what is the size of a drop? You know, you might accidentally squirt too much. You know, sometimes people will hear, oh, take 3 drops, and they take 3 full droppers. I've heard that before. And so with our pen, you know, you're going to get that exact dose, and there's going to be no confusion and no room for error. And it's just another route of administration to improve dosing and incorporate it into our IoT ecosystem.
So this can be used for, I mean, a whole range of medicines. I mean, you talk about liquid. So again, I think the key point, Greg, as you said earlier, this is not just cannabis. I mean, that you kind of started with the cannabis, but really now you're addressing pretty much, I mean, just about the full spectrum of how people intake medicines, except for pills.
Yeah. That's coming. That's coming too. Let me tell you this. Right. So we're trying to become agnostic. Again, data is the gold here, guys. So we're trying to become agnostic where we get enough critical mass and the data as value, as monetization value, where frankly, Jack, we want to just give these devices away. We want to get to the point where we can give the devices away and collect that data, monetize that data. Until then, we will sell those devices for profit at 100% markup, 50% margin on average, and same with the recurring revenue of the cartridges and patches, and let that model fund the future model, which is the data model. So, of course, and the medical, obviously the medical certifications that we're pending on will allow these devices to be reimbursed.
Okay, so we got a bunch of questions coming in. Before we get into the questions, let me see. Okay, actually, hang on a second. So the revenue model. Let's go through the revenue model again, right? So right now, the revenue model is what? How are you making money with this, right? And how big is the opportunity for essentially each of these devices? Like who are your customers?
Our customers are doctors, clinics. Eventually we see large research centers, hospitals, you know, elder care networks. We're looking at VA, PTSD. You know, the VA wants to probably have a good idea of what they're, you know, administering for PTSD syndrome users. Eventually looking to help lead the charge from a device perspective in mitigating opioid administration. As we all know, there are over 600 million opioid prescriptions provided in 2016. More Americans died overdosing from complex opioid drugs in the last 14 months, and all of the Americans that died in the Vietnam War. We know that plant-based medicine is the future. We know culturally there's more acceptance. Regulatory is a little bit behind. Doctors are also behind because they lack the data to feel confident to administer at this scale, and that's the data gap we're trying to close. How do we make money? We sell those devices. It's a one-off charge. Then we sell the recurring revenue of the cartridges. And of course, as I mentioned before, as our wellness line comes out, we'll be selling the full complete finished product of the formulations, the nutraceuticals, the over-the-counter market, and frankly, the software, the customized software that we've been talking about today with our UK partner, our French partner, and more partners coming, has surprisingly been competing with the hardware revenues already. So you've got razor blade model, hardware and cartridges. You have software model and a developing enterprise data solution. When Raya MD comes out, Raya MD will be a subscription model for doctors to subscribe to be able to accurately and confidently prescribe medicine to patients. So there's a lot of models here, and some of them are established and some of them are evolving.
So dollar-wise, let's talk about the dollar-wise. Like what's, you know, what can you generate in terms of revenues and how you know, like what could we be looking at for investors to look at in terms of milestones? What kind of revenue milestones?
I think, you know, we just got out of the gate, and we are post revenue. We'll be a few $100,000 this year, but we're looking at, easily 2 million probably in the next 12 to 14 months as all of our clinical trials start to kick in. I got to tell you, 2020 wasn't a fun year for us. Wasn't a fun year for anybody. A lot of clinical trials that were supposed to start were held back because of COVID crisis, and there was a lot more resources focused on that. Totally understandable. All of the deals that we were talking about in the last show are distribution agreements. These are not letters of intent. These are not memorandums of understanding. These are distribution deals often with minimums. Some of them we give exclusivity to, and they need to meet minimums to retain that exclusivity. But I do think, over the next few years, you're looking at, it could be 16 million in revenues from 3 years from now. And then as we pull in our enterprise data system, you can be looking at a much larger number. So we have aggressive revenue targets. We feel good about it. Every day we write code, Jack, so we're continually to separate ourselves from the rest of the pack. We haven't even talked about our ability to integrate biometrics, such as heart rate, and other potential biometrics in our application using Apple iWatch. There's other things that we're developing. So every day we continue to really further separate ourselves from the rest of the pack and continue to innovate. And we do expect that to sustain our aggressive revenue targets.
Okay, but now these numbers that you're talking about, they don't include the value of the data, the potential value of the data for
none of that does.
Okay,
No.
and that's really the upside in your model, right?
The upside is, the enterprise data solution will combine our patented AI technology. As we all know, we are the world's first patent ever granted in artificial intelligence and plant-based medicine data analytics. It's been granted, it's not pending. When we combine all of the data that we've gotten, you combine that with the AI technology to interpret that data, and then you have machine learning tools to allow for clinics, research universities, and big pharma to look into that data and hopefully make medical breakthroughs in plant-based medicine. That will be rented on an AWS HIPAA-compliant cloud per hour, per day, per month, per year. You're looking at the SaaS model as the ultimate solution for closing the data gap.
How much can you generate from that business?
I mean, you could be looking at eight, 9 figures. This could be a huge number if we get it right. You're looking at. We have 350,000 patients.
9 figures is that? That's over 100 million. Is that? I don't. No,
Look,
9. 8 is
if
up
we
to 90.
Right.
9 is 100 plus million.
If we can nationalize and create a federal program where clinical trials work on an interoperative system on RYAH, where a clinic in California and Florida and New York State are all working together, looking at the same efficacy goal in the same strain of cannabis, where cannabis can move across federal and state lines, which we're working on, then you've got an interoperable framework that can get scale and leverage in providing data that could be breakthrough data. And we think that data, when you unlock that, has a huge value. And again, we're looking at this more like less like a PAX and more like a Palantir, more like a Periscope data, where we think an evolving plant with an evolving demographic and an evolving dosing regimen is extremely valuable for not only doctors and clinics, but for big pharma and for governments and regulators.
Okay, let's jump into some audience questions.
Sure.
This is the big highlight here. Okay, so Mike is asking, what's the retail price of your device? Can a retail person buy this?
They cannot.
Can Mike buy this? No.
This is a clinical device, right? So we're waiting for our ISO 1345 certification. It would wholesale for $199 US and retail for $299 US normally. Obviously, for larger deals, we have manufacturing deals where we can have a lower price. That is in line with other medical devices. Actually, it's on the lower end of 2 to 3 other medical device competitors. So again, statutory insurance reimbursement should make that less of an impact.
Marcel is asking, can a device red flag to a physician, to a doctor, if a user is trying to over-medicate?
Good question, Marcel. Here's the deal. Let me give you a UK example. For the UK clinical trial, we created customized APIs that delivered information directly to the clinic's EHR system. Hundreds of APIs that Jordan and his team developed, so that if a patient is not doing well on the trial or if they misuse the product, the clinic gets a Slack notification and an EHR notification immediately advising the clinic to either reduce the dosing or take the patient off the trial. Now, that is a critical component for that trial to be approved by the UK regulator. And that is exactly what Raya MD is designed to do, Marcel. It's designed to monitor patient dosing. And if the patients misuse it, overuse it, then they could lose their prescription. One more example. In the Jersey Islands off the coast of the United Kingdom, we have a deal with Medican. Medican is a a ring-fenced clinic in the Jersey Islands, and they have a problem. When they prescribe 10 grams of THC or 10 grams of flower, the patient sometimes will use 5 grams and sell 5 grams on the black market. So what Medican is doing is saying, prove to me on the app that you've dosed your 10 grams or you're not getting another dose. So we're working with them and other countries to prevent misuse, overuse, and even potentially mitigate the black and gray markets.
Is this a follow-up? Can the dose changes be remotely controlled by the physician?
That's a future, go ahead, development, Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's another functionality of RYAH-MD. RYAH-MD is meant to empower doctors with the ability to prescribe a specific milligram dose of either THC or CBD via our flower inhaler, as well as our smart patch and our pen later on down the line. And we make it very, very easy. So the doctor can go ahead and say, all right, I want this patient to consume an X milligram dose. The software then guides them to select the strain that the patient is going to be consuming. And then it will tell the doctor, okay, for this milligram dose with this particular strain, you have this temperature range available. And when you select the temperature range, here's how much a patient will have to inhale. There's tons of information that helps the doctor better understand what all those parameters mean and how they could potentially affect their patient. And it makes it very easy for the doctor to just go ahead and hit submit, and that dose is then sent over to the patient's app where they can literally just accept it and everything will automatically be set for them. And then once they consume that dose, the doctor will be able to basically query that session info, so they'll see exactly how their patient is consuming and if they're adhering to their dosing regimen or not, which I think ties back to that original question.
Okay. We got a comment or question. Okay, so Jason is saying, wow, this product would be an excellent fit with True Trace Applied DNA. I think those are companies, right? A DNA tag on the plant, blockchain, genomic rights testing throughout, and QR code for customer to check.
Yes.
Currently on a Shoppers Drug Mart trial, QR. So, okay.
Jason, we're on the same page. You know, your Jason's talking about is not only C2.
Can you explain what he's talking about in case anybody doesn't know what is Jason?
This is exactly what you spoke about before, Jack. You're talking about getting the DNA analysis on the patient. What is their endocannabinoid system able to handle in terms of taking implant-based medicine? Getting the genetics of the seed of the plant and maybe trying to find a match with the right patient's CBD receptors and the plant's DNA and the overall strain. All of that, seed to sale, seed to consumption, is an ecosystem that if we get it tight, we could get rid of these words like Blue Dream and Charlotte's Web, which don't mean anything, and really get a genomic code on these strains and match those strains with the right CBD, CB1 receptors of each patient. And that fit is a very powerful capability. We would need partners there to do that. Again, we're good at devices and data, not so good at growing plants. And we are in formulation partners. We don't make any amends to that, but we are looking for that symbiotic relationship that Jason was referring to, where you can actually get the DNA of the plant and really sort of get the DNA of the person with the help of clinical partners. And we can put all that together and really monitor the dosing and titration. It's a beautiful story.
And really quick, I would just love to add to that is, the industry so far has been limited to what is known as seed to sale data. And that's, tracking the plant all the way from, when it was grown, when it was harvested to when it was sold. And now we've created a new data point called seed to consumption data, where now with our IoT devices, we're actually able to track the seed all the way through to consumption and understand how the patient feels after recording a specific dose. So it's a new data set that hasn't been available in the cannabis industry yet, and it is that missing link. And so I think they make a good point. Yeah. All those other companies do a good job of tracking the product, and we help finish that off by tracking it through consumption.
The patient, yeah.
Okay. Steve is saying this is Omnipod diabetic. I'm not sure. What is it? Is that a device?
Yeah, there is a device that is used for administering diabetes medicine. I understand that that's a micro needle solution where it penetrates the skin. I could be wrong, but we're not penetrating the skin. It's not in vitro. This is going to probably be a class 2 medical device designed to be useful for a wide range of nutraceuticals and medicines, and not sort of that type of one type of medicine. The product itself will not be combined with the medicine as a IP, as a patent or IP. It's just a device, and then we find the formulation partners who want to use that device separately.
Okay, we got a great question here. Seems like the hard contracts are 6 to 12 months away. Okay, I think what he's asking is, okay, here's the bottom line. What is going to drive the share price in the near term? Okay, so notice, what is the stock worth right now? How do we value this business? Is it based on? Is going to be based on the future, on the revenues or multiples of revenues, or is it based on the value of the IP, the enterprise value of the IP? Like, what is how do investors understand how to value the stock?
Yeah, I mean, you should be looking at this as the future right now. We're on Wall Street Reporter today because we are today at an inflection point. Okay, so as I mentioned, the inflection point is, number one, we are on the verge of having ISO 13485 medical device certification. We've been audited. We're confident that we will be a medically certified company under ISO 13485 and MDSAP, Medical Device Standard Order Procedure. Well, what does that mean? That means that is the baseline for us to go to different countries, starting with Canada, then Australia, then the United Kingdom, and then obviously MDR in Europe for medical device certification, really around the world. We will expect to be, Jack, the first company, maybe the only company, to have both our hardware and our software to be certified as a medical device. Okay, so that's critical. Hardware and software to be certified as a medical device. That medical device certification strategy is happening now. The next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, there'll be a number of different certifications that we will be expecting to achieve that allow this company to have statutory insurance reimbursement. Now, that leaves us with 1 or 2 competitors in the world. Being a medical device company in this space is really hard work, okay? Because you're dealing with a product like cannabis, for example, that isn't federally homogeneously approved around the world. And then you also have medical device certifications you have to navigate through. So there are only 2 competitors for a reason, because it's hard work. And number 2, the reason why now is important is because this smart patch, along with the wellness line associated with that, the wider revenue stream, is happening now. The launch is imminent. So you're looking at products, and Raya MD will probably be ready by the end of the year, easily. So that has also been 18 months in production. You've got 2 major products coming: medical device certification, and obviously the enabling of statutory reimbursement. Now, as I mentioned before, the COVID crisis halted a number of our clinical trials. The UK clinical trial is quite large. It's very ambitious. It's targeting around 50,000 patients over 5 years. But what's more important about that clinical trial, why we see revenues really moving up as a hockey stick, is because in year 3 of this 5-year trial, the initial findings of this trial will be delivered to the NHS, the FDA equivalent in the United States, in the United Kingdom. If the NHS determines that this trial was critical, was useful in treating chronic pain, it's a trial to determine the efficacy of chronic pain on a single strain of cannabis. If the NHS determines that this trial was valid in treating chronic pain, Raya would be open to an additional 7 million chronic pain patients in the United Kingdom. 7 million. And we would have to be selected because we're inside the trial. So it's not just about a 50,000 patient study. It's not just about getting trials around the world. It's replicating massive national scale capabilities, using our device and data to validate these trials, and then becoming part of a wider network. That's why we feel confident with the hockey stick approach to the revenues.
Okay. Question somebody was asking here about.
Expand on RYAMD.
RYAMD, where is it? Okay, here we go. There we go. RYAMD.
Go ahead, Jordan. Just give it a background.
Yeah, so the main issue with cannabis as a medicine is that doctors just don't have the confidence in prescribing cannabis as a medicine because the dosing conversation is a mystery to a lot of these doctors. A lot of times a patient will meet with a doctor will say, okay, I approve you for medical cannabis use. And then the patient really just goes to a dispensary, and it's the bud tenders or the people who work at the dispensary who are the ones recommending the products that the patient should buy and how they should consume and how much they should consume every now and then. And what RYAHMD does is RYAHMD gives doctors the confidence to control that dosing conversation. So it allows them with the Raya inhaler to set a specific temperature and a specific volume to be inhaled to ensure that the patient is getting that milligram dosage. And then they're able to see their patients actually, adhering to that dosing protocol, or, if they're not, and how they're responding to that. And RYAHMD is not going to be just for the inhaler. It's going to work for the patch and for the pen as well. And it's just it's our way of enabling doctors to take control of that dosing conversation that they currently don't have control of.
And again, the evolution of RYAHMD is not constrained to Raya devices. We are open to using other devices and other methods of administration. So we see, again, wider lens. We see RYAHMD as an opportunity to become a EHR system for all in cannabis, not just for Raya devices. So there's opportunities for other partners who have different delivery mechanisms to lock into RYAHMD and integrate their dosing into that capability as well. There's a lot of opportunity with RYAHMD. Again, never been done before in this space. New ground. We continue to innovate. That's a big one.
Okay. Let's see. We have any other questions here? Okay. So Marcel is make a comment that this could be beneficial for people with memory issues in terms of or in general people. Why should people have to think about it's a lot of stuff, a lot of data. I mean, people want to have. You want to make their lives easy, right? So this definitely definitely does that. So I want to get back to the question in terms of the value of the stock. That's going to be driven by what kind of milestone, because it's the revenue is not. I don't think that we can really value it based on the revenues right now. I mean, I don't think, and those revenues are really the that's like product stuff. It's not the data. The data is really where you're going to make the real money.
Yeah, I mean, again, the milestones are, again, medical device certification to become statutory insurance reimbursement, and makes it a lot easier for clinics to administer the products. And medical device certification gives us the opportunity to get into areas where others can't. Hospitals, research facilities. There's money in this. There's NIH grants waiting to be deployed here and globally for this type of these type of products. But again, a lot of them do require certifications, and we're there. Product launches is a milestone, as I mentioned, Jack. 2 big products coming out. The RYAHMD will be a subscription model, and the Raya Patch, again, is a razor blade model that allows us to also launch a wellness line. We've already established a wellness line. We're working on a separate THC-free legal entity just for Raya Wellness. We're working with large pharmaceutical chains in the South and Midwest of the United States who want to put the Raya Patch in their stores for what it may be for caffeine patches, again, for the truck drivers. It could be melatonin patches. It could be, again, immunity patches like vitamin D, all of them controlled with the power of the brain. So, large pharmaceutical chains, I can't say who, have a lot of interest in new technologies that are affordable that could sit in these stores. And we're looking at very large sponsors to help support the launch of our wellness line. Now, we've never been in the retail space before, but it's too much of a low-hanging fruit for us to ignore. So we have very good and strong retail advisors, ambassadors, who will help the companies develop the Raya wellness line and to get the retail audience comfortable and understand the Raya story. that is a completely different vertical that we haven't tapped in before, and we're extremely excited about that. So there is a lot of milestones happening in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months that will transform this company. This company will go from a startup to a corporation very quickly.
Okay, and I think, okay, so Tuesday you just came out with news that you're shipping product to Germany now, right?
Correct. This is the beginning. So we're laying the groundwork for massive clinical trials, massive distribution as a medical device, and we can do pilot programs under the study rule. We don't have to be a medical device to start the study rule, the studies, the pilots, and that gives us an opportunity to understand the usability, different cultures and different languages, understanding if they need different type of cartridges, if a pharmaceutical model doesn't allow for a finished product inside the pharmacy and maybe the patient has to pack some themselves. There's other types of usability studies, and we also get paid for those devices as well. So this is the groundwork. This is where we put, rubber to the road, prove what we've talked about. We're starting to deliver devices. They're starting to be tested, and they will start to be used, hopefully at massive scale, once we get the certifications we need.
Okay, so it sounds like you got a lot of things on track right now. A lot of exciting things happening. Greg, listen. So I think we're pretty much. I think we're out of time now. Let's catch up with your next news announcement, and then we'll expand on that. I think once people understand the RYAH story, we should see some some interesting things start to happen with the stock.
Absolutely, we agree.
Okay. On that note, okay, Greg, thank you, and thank you everybody for joining our live stream today, and we will see you on the next one.
Thanks.